did you find me?
I want security for the president. How do you think? You've been here the last 5 years? North Carolina before that?
You see, that's Big Brother for you.
No. Actually, it was just me wondering if you were still alive.
So you'll have to excuse us. It appears we're having a break-in at the door. Big Lloyd really... He noticed it always says Lloyd approved at the beginning of this show. And he knows we have 6 movies, so he really wants to break in and talk about the movies a little bit with us. Lloyd, you can't do that, buddy. You only you didn't go see any movies this time. So, well, brace yourself. We got a lot to catch up on in the show.
Do we look like we've had a break? Because I don't think we look like we've had a break.
Well, we will this weekend. That's what I was telling you right before we went on. I was like, why couldn't I have been out of town last weekend? Why couldn't I have been out of town this coming weekend when literally nothing is coming to Springfield?
Yeah.
And then I called you the other day and was like, well, I'm going to try to see like all 6 that I've missed in the last couple of weeks. I'd actually kind of assumed you'd probably seen all of them already.
Not yet.
You were like, oh, I've seen a couple of those. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, you don't have to go see all of them. Like, I can, but you did. You ended up going to see. We were at the theater at the same time a few times and ran into each other once because we were just there at different times. I was at 2 today, and you were at 2 today?
Yeah, I did 2 today, 2 Monday.
I did 1 Monday when I got back from Chicago. I did 3 yesterday, and then 2 today as well. So anyway, just to, I guess, go ahead and run through run through what we got tonight. We've got Ready or Not. We've got Angel Has Fallen, The Peanut Butter Falcon, Where Did You Go, Bernadette, Blinded by the Light, The Farewell. All these are currently playing in Springfield, and well, it was trying to get the times together was like I was looking at just like all these movie times on the wall and had to like
the cluttered mess that is their board.
Yeah, well, no, not even like literally there looking at their board. It was more so like when you watch something about like a math genius or something like that, and you're trying to put it together, like you're trying to put it together in your head, or maybe not in my head, but just on the Fandango website. Or I was just like, okay, if I go see this movie at this time, that means I have time to go see this one here. But it got extra difficult because there was a couple movies that were only playing at one time a day.
That was weird. I think they had some Fathom stuff going on is why they cut some of those out, maybe.
Well, a couple of them were the case of like, it might have been because they've been out for a week or two and aren't doing that well. Like, Where'd You Go, Bernadette?
Yeah.
I think today only had 1 screening and yesterday had 2, so I saw it late last night. I think The Farewell was only at like maybe 1 screening one particular day, so it was... Yeah, it was like a beautiful mind looking at this board and was like, okay, I think I have it all worked out. All right.
I had to do that too, but thankfully I had already seen 2 of them, so I got to take 2 of the equations out.
By the time Monday came around, I hadn't seen any yet. I got back to Springfield.
But you saw Overcomer, so you're the winner.
Oh, you know what? That's true. I did go see the most important movie. That was Overcomer, that actually did better at the box office than a few of the movies we'll be talking about tonight. Because of course it did.
Yeah.
But I'm Brad Jones. Again, we're going to be talking about plenty of movies tonight. And this is Geno Reynolds, and we can find you where?
At The Real Geno, REELGENO.
One reason I had to go ahead and... this is something I was doing little by little earlier too. So... I didn't have time to pull very many pictures, really, because of all the movies I had to see, but I do have, like, clips pulled for later on before we get to the movies. As far as pictures, not really. But earlier today, I had to pull at least a few, because we've got some... We're finally able to, like, announce our big distribution news for another Cinema Snob movie, which is that our movie is now part of the Troma family, which is awesome. Like, we made this deal, it was... a little bit ago, but we had to wait for them to make the announcement first, and they went ahead and made the announcement today. So I was on line earlier simultaneously making all of these announcements, and like, oh, okay, let me pull this clip from The Farewell or whatever the hell it's called. Oh, it's a good thing I got a couple of computers. So yeah, our movie is now part of the Troma family, another Cinema Snob movie. If you go to watch.troma.com, not only can you see another Cinema Snob movie streaming over there, but you also have the Troma library, you have documentaries, you have Troma series, all kinds of Troma greatness, and it is so cool that we were able to finally make that announcement, because that's awesome.
Okay, I have to say this, though. With Lloyd Kaufman being your father, it's a tad bit of nepotism now, isn't it?
No, don't give away the ending of the movie. That's why we had to give the streaming deal to Brycicle and Shelley. It's a joke if you've seen the movie. So yeah, like I already got my. I always have my Toxic Avenger back here. There's Surf Nazis up there. But yeah, like, so if you wanted to like support Troma, support our movie, go to watch.troma.com, and it's got a 30-day free trial on there as well, so you can sign up for a 30-day free trial and have access to all kinds of Troma classics, Troma movies of the past, Troma movies of the present, of the past few years. Again, a lot of documentaries and series, plus another Cinema Snob movie as well. That was the main thing I really wanted to promote here, because it's the only thing I want to promote. Well, I mean, other than we did your YouTube channel earlier. Yeah. Screw your site, man. No, but you can also see like Brad tries the State Fair, and the Stephen King's It miniseries Snob episode is up as well. I didn't pull pictures.
Okay, I have to address something about the State Fair video. Why is it always me that has the weird crap happening around me?
Have you looked at the comments?
It's like, did I just see a ghost?
Dude, is there a ghost at the fair, man? Keep your eye out.
It's like there's me trying whatever, and a bee flies in my face.
That shit was there, man. I saw it.
Maybe I was just so enamored with the wondrous food we were eating.
Well, Brad Tries, especially the fair episodes, are already a great show to watch when you're high. And the random special effects thrown in there just in the background or elsewhere make it an even better experience. So you have people in the comments going, whoa, hold the phone. Did anyone just see that guy disappear in the background?
You know, I'm not joking about this. When I watched it and I watched myself eat, and I mentioned it in the comments, when I watched myself eat that macaroni and cheese, my stomach turned.
Did it really?
I was not feeling good after that.
Was that your least favorite of the thing that we tried?
I don't know if it's the least favorite, but it was definitely one that made me not want to get something to eat after I was done, because I would have got a corn dog and a lemon shake-up or something, you know, just something that I just want to have. No, after I ate that, my stomach just like, I'm done.
I was judging. Like Laura was feeling way worse. But I mean, she's got a healthier diet than I do, so of course eating like 6 different things of fried food is gonna mess with her a little bit. Me, I was all right. Like I took like a Pepto tablet or something like that. Usually we do about 6 things on there, and we did 5 that time, because we were like, you know what, we got 5 things, it's really hot outside, why don't we just split? And like, you and Laura weren't feeling it after that lobster macaroni
I was
cheese.
fine up until then. And I remember we got back to the car and we were gonna have to stop to get Pepto, and it's like, oh, here's some right here in the seat, here you go, here's a tablet, I took one.
Always keep it handy. Like I eat so much fast food, you always got to keep it handy. Pepto's not even for the fast food. It's when I eat something healthy. Yeah. If I drive by healthy eating.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't eat it after all those fried vegetables.
I think Laura ate more of those than I did, but it could trick my stomach a little bit, because at the end of the day, it was still very much fried and coated in delicious ranch dressing. You can also subscribe to us over at youtube.com/StonedGremlinProductions. Follow us on Instagram at The Cinema Snob. You can follow us on Twitter at The Cinema Snob as well. Plus, there's Tumblr on there, Facebook.com/The Cinema Snob. There's 4 or 5 different places you can follow us on. Again, the most important thing is that we're on Troma. See another Cinema Snob movie over on Troma. I will never ever get tired of saying that. That is totally awesome. So, since we got 6 movies to go to, or to get to, we've already seen them. Believe me. Again, we like to start out with the most important ones first, so clearly we should start out with the farewell. Let's go ahead and start out with the farewell. So it's called the farewell, but we're doing it first. You'd think we would do that one last, but no, we're mixing it up out here. It's a backwards day. Not usually. I usually save the most important movies for last. So, all right, here's a clip from the farewell, and we'll be right back with the review.
好多了，好多了，再来点气儿，再来点气儿。
Spunky. I said clip from the farewell, but that was one of them where I couldn't find actual clips, so I just pulled pieces of the trailer. I didn't even realize this was the movie that was coming out so soon. I got a trailer for this like once, I think, and didn't even realize halfway into the trailer that was Awkwafina starring in it until Laura next to me says something like, "Oh, I kind of want to see this. It looks like Awkwafina doing a more serious role." And I'm like, "Oh crap, that actually is her." So this is the movie. This is the dramedy in which it's My Big Fat Asian Funeral, where it's Awkwafina is living in New York. And she comes from a family that a lot of whom still live in China. And her grandmother, she doesn't find out that she's dying, but she goes to the hospital because she knows that there may be something wrong. And her grandmother's sister is the one who finds out her grandma's only got about 3 months to live. So the whole family is getting together in China under the guise of this kind of fake wedding that's going on, because none of them actually want to tell the grandmother that she's dying. None of them want her last few months of stage 4 cancer to be just a wreck and depressing and everything. So in order to get the family back together, they say they're having this wedding with one of the cousins, so that's an excuse for the family to be together, when in reality it's mainly so all the family can be there and see their grandmother. And it's certainly a culture clash in the sense that Awkwafina, who has been living in the States for a really, really long time in New York, doesn't really so much want to kind of go along with this lie that they're telling her, but the family is like, no, we should do this. A lot of families here in China do this. In fact, we don't even want Awkwafina to go because she's not used to this like we are. She's overly emotional about it, outwardly so. She might accidentally spill. So she does end up going, unbeknownst to the rest of her family. She just gets a ticket and just shows up. And during the movie, the intense thing about the movie is you kind of are waiting for it to slip at some point. It's like, who's going to crack here? Is Awkwafina going to crack and say this? Is it going to be one of the family members? Or is it going to be one of those things where the grandmother kind of knew this whole time? Yeah. And that was a thing that I was wondering in my head, because is this really common over there?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, being that it's based on a true story, or they say based on an actual lie. Yeah, I think.
It's based on a real family,
and that's what I thought, because they had a thing at the end. Yeah, showing the real people, or at least one of the real. I can't remember who all they showed. We've seen 6 movies; it's hard to remember everything. Yeah. So I don't know if it's a thing, but being that they're doing this based on a real family, I can imagine then maybe this is a thing. But yeah, that was the whole time, like, you could have took bets on, if you were seeing it with a few people, it's like, all right, who you got?
Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? It's like it's the most sadistic reality show. Isn't this more of a Japanese reality show, game show thing? There's a couple of characters in the movie that mention, and there's a doctor who shows up that mentioned that was the case with, like, a relative of his. A couple of other people mention that that's happened with their family before. The only thing that I can think of in my head was, like, if it's that common, if I was really, really old and, like, went to the doctor for some reason and, like, a relative of mine was like, oh, no, you're fine, but then they planned this big thing in a few months, I would be like, oh, okay, so the doctor told you I'm dying.
And, well, that was just it.
Who's kidding who?
And it wasn't just one time either. There was, like, 2 or 3 times that, oh, I sent someone else to go get the results, and you never asked to see it, and then... when you do see it, they've doctored it, you know? So...
like, it's a CIA document, and they've redacted it. Am I infected with, like, espionage? Like, so, one thing I did really like about... because I've seen her in a handful of things, Awkwafina.
Yeah.
There's maybe been 1 or 2 things where I thought she was fine, and there's a lot of times where I thought she was annoying.
I have not liked her in anything at all before this.
I remember being fine with her, I think, in Ocean's 8, in the sense that I don't remember reviewing that movie or watching it thinking, like, this person's annoying. But there's been a couple of movies since where I've been like, you're the most obnoxious part of this otherwise good movie. In this, I liked her a lot in this movie.
Yeah, she was really good. I always like seeing someone that's known for, you know, comedy.
Yeah.
Try something like this. And her performance in this, I mean, there were a few times where she got to be a little silly, but it's
like a dramedy.
But it fit what was going on. The scene where the grandma's doing whatever, like, martial art thing she's doing. She's like doing punches, and she wants Awkwafina to join her, and it's a little silly, but it fits the narrative. It's not just her being crazy, you know, and just seeing her tell a lot of the story with the emotions on her face.
Yeah.
Because her character is probably the one character that most wants to say something to the grandma. And you could just tell that she's hiding this. And not hiding it very well.
No, that's why you're sitting there and you're, like, kind of on the edge of your seat. Like, is she going to slip this early in the movie? Wow. She does a lot of great acting with her face like that. Like, you see her emotions on her face and she has to contain all this and try to kind of laugh it off. She has a couple of great monologues in the movie. Very, very tearful ones. And you're right. She is funny in the movie as well. Like, it's a drama, but it's kind of a mixture of both in some scenes. When you see her in New York, she's got some good one-liners with a couple people she sees on the street. Yeah. It was what she does in this, like you mentioned, like someone known for comedy doing a slightly more serious or very much a more serious role. She's doing in this certainly what I wanted out of, like, Tiffany Haddish in the kitchen.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
That didn't really work out all that well. This, she's getting a lot of rave reviews for this, and I can see it. She really does carry this movie. The movie itself, I won't say I was in love with.
It was a real simple story. I mean, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it was just this slice of life kind of. Yeah, you know, and this however long they were there period, that this is what's going on. And I mean, how many times did they eat delicious looking food?
I was starving after this movie. I wanted Chinese food so bad. Everyone, there's a lot of eating in this film.
They're always sitting down to this huge dinner. It's like how many wontons? They're like, how many wontons you want? Oh, I'll have 3. That's not enough. Like, fine, 10. You'll have 8.
I was sitting there going, I just had Lao She Swans a couple days ago. I need it again right now. I need, like, some Tony's chicken in front of me, and, like, but you raise a really good point, which is that it is a very simple plot. Yeah. It is a very simple story, and it's not that long of a movie. It's an hour and 40 minutes long, but because it's pretty straightforward, you honestly probably could have done this in about 80 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it felt long, but there were a couple times, and especially when they would sit at the dinner table. I'm like, you're sitting at the dinner table again.
There's a lot of that. The dinner table's in this movie more than the sidewalk was in the kitchen. I'd have to go back to that again, but, like, no, I agree with you. Like, there were points in the movie where I was kind of getting distracted watching it, because there was a lot of it that was repetitive. There were a lot of conversations that were repeated throughout the movie. Most of it is kind of Awkwafina's character sort of arguing her position against other characters who want this to happen and them debating on whether or not they should tell the grandma. That's a lot of this movie. And it's repeated quite a bit. I mean, but it's a good story. It's a good plot. There's fun things in there with the fact that she is from China but has been living in the States so long that going back there with her grandma is almost like this fish back in water story.
Yeah,
like,
I think she left when she was like 5 or 6.
Something like that.
I think is when it was when the parents left.
Yeah, so the performances were solid. There were, and I won't spoil it, but
I will say this: if you're gonna see this, go into it. See, I hadn't seen anything. Not even a trailer. I just had heard about it.
Yeah.
Not knowing the story.
Yeah.
Is probably if don't research it before you go see it.
Yeah, dude, don't.
Definitely that way you can just live this slice of life with them.
You can, and the payoff is really good.
Yeah.
Like, I'll say that. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll say this. Like, this movie, I actually, with the problems I had with a lot of pacing of this movie, and even some parts where I was just kind of checking out a little bit, I will say this. I left this movie pretty uplifted, because the payoff is really good. And again, like I said, it's worth checking out in and of itself, just to see Awkwafina do this kind of role and do it well. I want to see more of this kind of performance, of this kind of movie from her, and less that what she was doing in Crazy Rich Asians, which was a movie I liked, but that character was maybe my least favorite part of the movie.
That whole family in that movie was my least favorite part of that movie.
When I was watching it, I was like, this movie would be fine perfectly at home just pulling it up on Netflix or like a rental. I didn't feel like I really needed to be seeing this in the theater necessarily. Yeah. But if you were to rent it, again, it's about an hour, 40 minutes long. If you were to rent this movie, or, it almost kind of feels like a Netflix original a little bit.
I can see that.
Like, if you want to pop it up on there, it totally works as that. But again, I saw about 4 or 5 other movies before I saw this one. I was getting deep into my, because I used up all my rewards for the week on, 3 movies. So then had to do the Fandango rewards for, the rest, which I had a lot of those saved up. So it was hilarious that, I think my ticket cost for this was, $2.50 or something like that. One of them was $1.
Nice.
Another was $3.75. I am saving. Is that how you would recommend this?
Most definitely. It's not a rush to the theater, I don't think. But it's interesting enough to check out.
Sure.
It's not... Any problems I had with it, pacing especially, it was kind of slow.
Yeah, it could have been tightened a bit. It could have. Like I said, this would have been perfectly serviceable as an 80-85 minute movie. It made me want to see an alternate version of Windy City where none of them tell Saul he's dying. No, seriously, F Saul. We're not going to tell him. All right,
it's an American tradition.
Exactly.
It's the Chicago way.
Okay, so we also do the super. I forgot to mention. I just wanted to get to the farewell so quick. Of course, we do the super chat every week on here, and in between the reviews, we answer your super chat questions and comments. So we got a couple in here already. Let's see. Special thanks to Eclectic Inuit. Hey Brad, do you think it's crazy that Canadian provinces like British Columbia and Manitoba gave Unplanned a PG rating? I haven't seen the film, so I don't know. I don't know what their standards on PG are, because some ratings that are the same as ours but in other countries kind of mean different things, or maybe there's less ratings, or maybe there's not a PG-13 equivalent, maybe there's not the equivalent of another one, so I don't know. I don't even know if maybe a lot was cut from that film over there. Maybe that's the case. Maybe a lot was cut.
I don't know if that's the right choice of words for that.
Whoops, my bad. They cut the fries but left the soda. So, yeah, I don't know what the full context is of that, really. So, I don't know. If we're talking, like, in the States, yeah, dude, that was totally an R rating. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. That is an R-rated film. There's not a single person who worked on that movie that you can convince me thought that was going to get a PG-13 rating. No way. No freaking way. Holly Blue Agitated. Congrats on finally becoming a certified Troma filmmaker. Thank you. I would when I would watch Troma movies as a kid, when I'd rent them from the video store, or they'd be on Cinemax or something like that, I was sitting there going, I am going to one day make a movie about killer clowns and independent filmmaking and cannibal rednecks, put them all in the same movie, and it'll be on Troma.
That is amazingly specific.
Yeah, I had very specific goals as a child. Of course, I was 13 years old, so one of those goals was also, I also need to find the time to masturbate.
I mean, just alone thinking about YouTube back before it was even there.
Oh yeah.
I
am gonna I'm gonna sit there as a kid and be like, I'm gonna be on this thing called the internet and be reviewing movies like this. Let's see. Holly Blue Agitated again. Awkwafina's reportedly voicing Scuttle in the Little Mermaid remake. Hopefully this ends up better than some of the Lion King's casting choices. We'll see how that goes. I have a feeling it won't be the farewell Awkwafina we'll be getting. I imagine it'll be the Crazy Rich Asians that we're going to be getting there. She might surprise us, though. The whole thing might be about lying to Ursula about her funeral. Oh, they really went in a different direction here. Okay, what do we got up next? We did the farewell, so how about we do... Someone in the chat's going to be like, please let it be one of the movies I'm here for. It's not going to be. Let's do Where Did You Go, Bernadette? So here's a clip right here from Richard Linklater's Where Do You Go, Bernadette? And we'll be right back.
Just last night, right? I woke up to pee. I'm half asleep. I'm a blank slate. And then the data starts reloading. It's a Bernadette Fox, 20 Mile House, destroyed, failed. Yeah. It's like failure. It's got its teeth in me, and it won't stop shaking.
You done?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, because I know you can't honestly believe any of this nonsense.
And again, like I said, we answer the super chat questions in between the reviews, so you'll have a lot of chances tonight since we're reviewing a lot of movies this evening. All right, this is Where'd You Go, Bernie? You saw this one today, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, I saw it last night. It was the third movie I had last night because the running time on the website was different than what it actually was. It actually said it was about 15 minutes longer on the website, so I saved that for last. I was kind of glad that it was shorter than it ran. This movie is exhausting. This is the one with Cate Blanchett where really you just need to see the trailer. It shows you the entire movie.
Pretty much.
Yeah, in fact, like, the trailer and the tagline show you what the climax of this movie is. If you think that... Alright, this is the one where Cate Blanchett plays Bernadette, who is a celebrity architect. And she's dealing with a lot of... she's dealing with a heavy dose of mental illnesses. I don't know if it's bipolar. I don't know if it's borderline personality disorder, depression. Could be every single one of them that she's going through in this movie. She's also married to a tech pioneer, played by Billy Crudup in the film. And the trailer shows you that she's kind of reached this breaking point of insanity in her life, so she goes off on this trip to Antarctica. Now, when you look at the trailer, you might think, like, oh, okay, well, that is probably set up in, like, the first act of this movie. No, the whole her disappearing act and them tracking her in Antarctica and things like that is the last act of this film. It's kind of the climax. And when I was watching it, I was thinking they really didn't know how to market this movie, which sort of makes sense because I also really don't know who this movie's 4. I'll say this about it. I was in a wave of different emotions throughout this movie. There were points early on where I was sitting there frustrated because I'm with this very, at first, seemingly entitled person who it was hard to empathize with, but I felt the movie wanted me to, and so you're watching them go on these huge manic states throughout a lot of the movie and just kind of make life chaotic and hell for everyone around them, with their husband, daughter, neighbors, everything. And I was thinking early on, I was like, is this going to be one of those movies where like is this going to be like Mom's Night Out, where it's like a vacation or a night out really solves all of this person's issues? Or is it going to be, here's what I was thinking of too. I was sitting through a lot of it where I was watching her just be a crazy person for over half of this movie, for a majority of this movie, and Billy Crudup just like taking all this insanity that's going on around him. I was watching it thinking, am I watching like Richard Linklater's quirky comedy version of Hereditary? What am I? That works as a horror film. As this kind of quirky indie comedy, I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this. The pacing's weird too, because every now and then the movie will stop so a character will pull up a YouTube video to provide you exposition on Bernadette's past.
Yeah.
So,
God, this movie.
You didn't care too much with this movie?
I won't say it's like one of the worst things I've seen this year.
There was absolutely.
There was things I did like.
There are things I liked in this movie.
The interactions with Cate Blanchett and Kristen Wiig were a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Even though, I mean, even when it got serious, they did really well together. Mm-hmm. They had a scene or two like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of there's things in this movie, and it's stuff I won't share, and I found a lot of this movie insulting. Because while nobody ran off to Antarctica or anything, it's just having dealt with a similar situation to this in my marriage. It just, the way they treat mental illness in this movie is strange. Because the blame is thrown on a character, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second.
So yeah, I mean, we can come back to that, but it's just, there was that, and yeah, I was having trouble if we're supposed to like Cate Blanchett's character. Why? You know?
I was of two minds with how they were kind of dealing with her in this movie and this mental illness that she's had, because I was watching this movie having known people in my life that this was really, really, really reminding me of. Yeah, I was having some flashbacks watching this a little bit. But I kind of took that more as like, well, you know, like, other audience members aren't really going to have that reaction that I am. Like, but yeah, I was sitting there like kind of uncomfortable in some scenes, but that was more of a personal thing. There's things about her situation and her illness that she has in this movie that I did start empathizing with over the movie, at least to the point to where I was like, I kind of understood in a sense, or could wrap my head around it, because a lot of her craziness and self-destruction in the movie, it's not so much that it's wrapped up by this vacation that she goes on. They talk about in the movie that she is this perfectionist, she is this artist. Her buildings, her houses, everything, they are her artwork. And at one point in her past, she had this huge passionate deal taken away from her on this home that she was supposed to design. And so she is living in this community with her husband and daughter, and she isn't able to create. She isn't able to work on anything. And that's what they say is driving her more insane, that she's an artist that is unable to create. So because of that, she's kind of living in this prison in her head. I was watching that going like, okay, that's interesting. I can see how that could drive this person crazy to this point. I can see that. And when it got to the resolution at the end, I was even like, I get how that has helped this person. And I also like the fact that it does talk about all of this self-medicating that she's doing, this mixture of all these drugs that she's on and these pharmaceuticals. I like that the movie is really showing that this is doing a lot worse actually for this person. Now, where I go on the other side of it is more a couple of different things. One, better communication between all these characters could have really solved this really, really quickly. So that was, especially when it gets to how far a lot of this goes in the film. It's like, a lot of you really should have just kind of worked on a lot more of your communication skills with each other, and maybe it, I'm not saying it would have been easy, but maybe it wouldn't have gotten to the point that it did. Also, there's a lot of blame and shit in this movie that goes towards the Billy Crudup character in the film. And so you're watching this movie about this guy who is trying to manage this Microsoft business that he has, this new... Okay, when he had that thing on his head that was reading his mind and...
I was wondering how sci-fi this movie was going to get when it did that.
Did that actually happen? Or was that like a dream sequence or like a daydream from the person watching it?
From what I understand, that was the product that he was doing. I'm like, how is that happening? Oh, we're not going to explore that anymore?
So this guy has really invented the ability to read minds and transfer it over into email, if that's what actually
That's what it was doing, because he said he was doing like a Steve Jobs type of introduction on stage, and he puts this little Band-Aid looking thing on his head, and all of a sudden this email starts filling out to his wife.
Okay,
and it's dropping like 4 or 5 words at a time, and he's like, you see how it's just not typing up? It's because it's capturing our thoughts, and it's like, okay. And then though they do bring up the name of the
Samantha too.
Yeah, they bring it up again because that's kind of a catalyst to part of the plot.
That's a whole other movie in and of itself.
But it's just like they don't bring up the fact that he just created that and is also considering that is what he's created. He's honestly doing a really good job of balancing this life-changing invention that he's had with what's going on at home, which involves Cate Blanchett nearly getting their identities stolen by Russian hackers who she's having constant communication with online. He's really trying to pull all this stuff together between work and keeping his wife sane, making sure she's safe. But meanwhile, so much shade is thrown to this guy from that brat of a teenage daughter that they have, who, again, is this character that I'm supposed to empathize with, but is constantly saying things like, are you really going to work right now? Like, my mom is allowed to call me that. You're not allowed to call me that. This is all your fault. Daddy's fault.
This is all your fault. If you were at home, this wouldn't have happened. And again, this isn't written to be a brat. This is unintentionally coming across
she's
like
supposed
a little shit.
Yeah, like snap him out of it.
Because
it's like, oh yeah, she's mad at me. Something must be wrong.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry that you're a billionaire. And are going to be after this thing comes out. You're already rich. Both of your parents are celebrities. Like, this people are trying really hard in this movie to keep this character grounded. And even one thing I forgot about earlier was that when I say that I'm kind of like, who is this movie really for? I know to an extent who it is. I can see certain people like empathizing, certainly, because to a point I do as well. But when you do see what the resolution is, you are kind of sitting there going like, not everyone's gonna have the means to do something like this. And I realize that, like, you know, I mean, fine, whatever. Like, it's not that, you know, if it's a movie about rich people, you can't expect, like, you know, everyone's going to be able to do what they're doing on screen. I get that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, yeah, that certainly works for this character with what happens at the end, which might make someone in a similar situation even more frustrated. Because, like, well, I wish I could do that. Can't. Sorry.
Well, and here's the thing. Another thing about the Billy Crudup character. Okay, yeah, he escaped to his work over these, whatever, it was what, near 20 years?
Yeah.
They talked about?
Mm-hmm.
He was just kind of escaping to his work.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he just kind of didn't, I guess, maybe want to deal with some of it. And just so he's just like, well, I better put more into my work. I mean, they tease that he might cheat on his wife. They, you know, they're saying he's away all the time. And he doesn't cheat.
He never does. It never crosses his mind.
Yeah. I mean, there's this girl that's an assistant, but is also a mom to one of the kids and the daughter's school. And I mean, you watching the movie are supposed to think, oh yeah, this might be a thing. And even Bernadette says, you know, probably soon to be mistress or whatever.
And it never happened. I mean, they say in the movie she's paranoid. Like, you can't, like, so, yeah, you expect there's going to be a lot of irrational thinking in this. But again, it just shows this is a really loyal husband she has with this.
While, yes, he may have been distant, he never strayed. He never left. He stayed with her. He stayed with the daughter. Yet, he's the ultimate a-hole in this movie. And he's the root of all the problems, apparently, according to the daughter.
No, lack of communication is the root of all the problems here. I did like the arc that she has with her neighbor. Kristen Wiig.
That was great, especially the way it started. Because if you see the trailer for this, you might think it's going to be a lot funnier.
It's really not.
And it's really not. That being said, when you first meet Kristen Wiig's character, you know where it's kind of going. And when you learn that Cate Blanchett's an architect, you know what's going to happen, and it's actually kind of funny. But then later they have a serious moment, and it works really well. And so that part, I really dug that part.
No, I did too, because like I said, this was a frustrating movie, because I was like, if you had like tightened this quite a bit, maybe made another pass on it or something. The cast is solid for it. The acting is really good. Cate Blanchett's very damn good in this. Oh, yeah. The acting's good.
We were talking every review that ripped on this movie. The first sentence is always, Cate Blanchett is a national treasure.
Yeah. You know? I was wondering if this was going to be a movie, like, we talked about this too, if this was going to be a movie like Roman J. Israel Esquire, where it's like the movie's not very good, but the lead performance is getting great reviews and might get an Oscar nomination. That wouldn't really surprise me if it were the case with this movie. She is great in this movie. The acting is solid, and there's actors who show up in cameos where it's like, well, Richard Linklater's called in a few favors. Yeah. Steve Zahn shows up at one point and a few others, but this is absolutely not one of his best by a long shot. But there's moments where it works. Even after I saw it, there were things about it and different themes in it that were sticking with me a little bit. I'll give it that. Like, it's a movie that I was thinking about a lot afterwards and even wanted to talk about it afterwards. I'll give it that. Like, there's things about it that are good. There's things about it that are even, like, maybe a little provocative. But there's so much of it that's uneven. There's
well, the fact that it has to use multiple times exposition to give us like stuff that, from what I understand, they cut out from the book.
Oh, that's another thing too. Yeah,
you know, because you had which the YouTube video of the movie, or the documentary, or whatever it was, the fact that Bernadette watches half of it. And the daughter watches the other half, yet somehow it's supposed to connect for both of them, but it's only there to connect for us.
That was clunky.
And then there was some of stuff that happened within that 20 years that would have been probably a good flashback. Not saying I want this movie to be longer, but it almost needed it, because it was just them explaining something through exposition, yet we have time to to bring in the quirky FBI agent.
Oh, okay. He was actually one of my favorite parts.
I did enjoy him, but it's like, what? Because all of a sudden it's like, I'm so-and-so from the FBI. What? When did this turn into a espionage movie?
He literally is like, well, I'm done here. Bye. There's this guy. I got a couple big laughs out of. It was almost like that's the joke that he's out of place, and so he would drop some lines about that would get kind of a laugh out of me. But I didn't even realize till the ending credits that this was based on a book. So I haven't read it. But one thing I noticed with some reviews of it is they were bringing up the book a lot, and that there's a lot that's either missing or just doesn't work in a movie adaptation. So I can't come at it from like an adaptation standpoint, but as a movie, there was enough about it that I thought was fine, and even some of the themes of it I did too, that I could say like, yeah, it'd be worth a rental. You don't need to go to the theater to see this. It's too messy.
Definitely not theater. It would be if it's free on Netflix for me.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, if you like Cate Blanchett, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's definitely marketed wrong.
If you want to see the whole movie, just watch the trailer. There you go.
But yeah, it had to be free to watch it.
I could recommend it as either just a straight up rental or a Netflix watch. Either I think would be serviceable, but I mean, if your option is free versus anything else, go for the free option. All right, so let's get to a couple other super chats that we have on here. This is from Michelle Moffat. Hi, could you mention my book, Innocent Parasites 2, Parasites Productions? It's about a horror movie actor that becomes so convincing his colleagues start to believe he's a perverted killer in real life. Right on. So that's Parasites 2, Parasite Productions. So go ahead and do a Google search for that. Look up some more info on that, and I hope that does really well for you. That sounds kind of cool. Cinehani's Productions. Have you heard about the Banana Splits horror movie? Yeah, I have. I've never seen the Banana Splits before, so I kind of only knew of it just by name. So when that trailer came out, I was like, oh, was it a horror movie? Oh, okay, so it wasn't a horror thing before. All right. Well, that's an interesting way to take it. Why not? Maybe this will open the door for, finally a horror version of the Teletubbies.
Well, I mean, from what it looks like is... I know they've been trying to write a Five Nights at Freddy's movie for a while, and I guess they scrapped it. They scrapped the whole script, and it looks like it's like, well, we need another thing we can fit into this. Yeah. This is available. Let's use the Banana Splits. That's what that trailer looked like to me. Oh yeah, it could be fun.
When does it come out?
I don't know.
When that comes out, I'll do a video on it.
But
yeah, I've definitely heard about it. Daniel Vasquez. Here's my top 3 favorite Disney villains. Jeffrey Cat. Oh, clever. 3 Jeffrey. He paid, so I'll read it. 3 Jeffrey Katzenberger. 2 John Lasseter. 1 Sony.
Yeah, well, he didn't have to pay to get read on my live stream last night.
And number 4, Claude Frollo. So Holly Blue agitated again. What even was this movie? Where'd you go, Bernadette?
The title even confuses me because it's a question and there's no question mark.
Oh really?
Where'd you go, Bernadette? Yeah, there's no question mark.
Let me pop it up. You're right.
I noticed that the whole time, and I'm like English.
This is marketed weird. It's marketed as a mysterious comedy. What's the mystery? Disappearances can be deceiving. It's not Gone Girl. No. It's not The Girl on the Train. They market a completely different type of thing. That is not what this movie is at all. Plus, the movie bombed too, so you shouldn't call it "Where'd You Go, Bernadette" for a movie that no one saw. Okay, let's. What's our next movie? It's not Where'd You Go, Bernadette. We just did that. All right, let's talk about the Peanut Butter Falcon next. So here's a clip from the Peanut Butter Falcon. We'll be right back with that review.
New rule is you can't slow me down. You understand? Put those on. So what I say is go. I say jump, you say how high.
How high? You are in charge.
Exactly. Come on. Hey, what's rule number 1? What's rule number 1?
Party?
No, not party. No, it's not party.
What I tell you rule number 1 is. So that line in the movie, what's rule number 1? Party? No. So I put up that picture on Twitter last night that you got of the marquee that shortened it to Peanut Butt.
I knew you were gonna love it.
Yeah, I put that up on Twitter last night. It was before I went to go see one of the other movies. I hadn't seen this movie yet, and Mike Phelan wrote to me with that quote, like rule number 1, party or something like that. I hadn't seen the movie yet, so randomly out of context, like I figured it was probably a quote from the movie because I think he commented on the Twitter post that was like, that movie's awesome. But at first I was like, is Mike out partying at like 2 in the afternoon? Is he all right? Should I check on him? I love this movie.
Easily one of the best of the year so far for me.
Yeah, you saw this before I did.
I saw it on Monday.
Yeah, did you? So you saw it. Okay, you saw it the same. Was that what you were seeing when I was at Angel Has Fallen? Or did you just see this?
I was coming to Springfield anyway before we were gonna do this see this because I wanted. This is the closest it's been to us, and I was not gonna miss it. And what did I watch second? See, I don't even remember what I watched second.
I've seen 6 movies the last 3 days. It took me a while to remember everything I saw too. But this movie, I had only heard of this movie like a few weeks ago. I never got a trailer for this film. I only first heard of it because there's a Double Toasted review of it. And
I followed Jake the Snake Roberts, the wrestler, and he's in it. And he's like, go see this movie. I'm like, yes, sir.
If I have to hitchhike to Springfield. This is a movie about a not really a kid. He's like 22. A 22-year-old with Down syndrome who's been abandoned by his family to the point to where he lives in an old age home.
That's the only place they had for him.
Yeah. And this is like the deep south he's living in. Lives in this old age home with his roommate Bruce Dern and Dakota.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And Dakota Johnson is kind of the one like in charge of this unit. And the kid, his idol is this wrestler played by Thomas Hayden Church, known as the Saltwater Wrestler. Was that it?
It's like something redneck.
Yeah, like the Saltwater Redneck or something like that. And so he has this VHS tape of this guy that he totally idolizes, and it's Thomas Hayden Church advertising for a wrestling school. So this dude is like trying all of these means to escape this old age home. Eventually he does by bending the bars on the window, coating himself up with lotion, stripped down in tighty whities, squeezes through these bars, and just makes his escape in the middle of the night to try to get miles and miles and miles away to go to this wrestling school. And meanwhile, he meets up with this trashy dude who's named Tyler, played by Shia LaBeouf, who's on the run from this crabbing gang.
Yeah, he's been stealing the stuff in their nets and selling it. So
John Hawkes and his crabbing gang want Shia LaBeouf dead. So he's on the run. He meets up with Zach is the main character's name. Zach and Tyler meet up with each other, kind of realize what they're both about and where they're going, and it's just this Mark Twain modern Huck Finn travel movie between the two of them to escape this John Hawkes gang and get to this wrestler, Thomas Hayden Church, and I loved it. I loved everything about this movie.
You know, I like that you make the Mark Twain reference. The movie even makes the Mark Twain reference.
It does, yeah.
And this movie just seems to me like if Mark Twain were here today, he would write something like this.
Yeah.
And that's why I loved about it. You know, he took something that's popular in culture now, and the movie, I think it was based in the early 90s.
I was going to ask you that too.
Because, and that's why, and I won't really, I don't want to spoil it, but that's kind of how I kind of knew things were going to happen the way they did because of technology. That kind of, it didn't ruin it for me at all. It's just, they never really say when they are, but I believe it was early 90s.
I want to say it's early 2000s because
it very well could have been.
Because I was trying to put that together in my head too when this movie was taking place, and not as a detriment to it at all. Like it was, I like that it was kind of set in whatever time it was in and really didn't make much notice about it. The reason why I say maybe early 2000s is there's a phone Dakota Johnson has at one point
phone,
that was a flip phone and gas prices in one scene.
Yeah.
I was like, that seems like
that makes a little more sense.
Early 2000s, maybe late 90s.
Well, you never see like new cars. You never see, you know, anything that really, other than maybe that cell phone. And now that I think about it, it probably makes more sense a little later.
Yeah, I like that about that movie. It did give it kind of a timeless feel to it.
But I was going by the technology in the nursing home, which kind of made me, because I thought it was in the 80s at first, and but then it had to be later. But yeah, man, I was fine with not knowing. Yeah. Because it just gets you interested in the story and the characters. And I just got to say this. There is not a performance in this I hated.
Same here.
I love every single person in this movie.
I did too. The kid playing Zach is great. He's funny. He and Shia LaBeouf are fantastic together, and their chemistry is great.
Such a great chemistry together.
Their chemistry is great. He is awesome in this movie. He nails this movie. I hope this movie does for him, gives him this kind of resurgence that like McConaughey got with like Mud or Dallas Buyers Club or something like that. He is that good in this movie. Like, he nails every line, the mannerisms that he has, the chemistry that he has with the kid and other people in the movie. Like, these two grow to love each other in this movie.
Well, see, one of the main themes of this movie is, who are you? Are you a good guy or a bad guy? It kind of plays into the wrestling thing. Yeah. And I love the conversation they had about, you know, because the dude wants to be a bad guy wrestler, right? And he's like, why would you be a bad guy? This is how you are. You're at good. And then he asks Shia LaBeouf, are you a good guy? And he's like, well, I don't know. But you finally learn deep down that, yeah, he was stealing stuff, but he went through some stuff and his life just wasn't real good. And deep down, he had a good heart, but everything's rough for him right now. And I mean, just from early scenes, I laughed so hard when the kids pushed Zach into the water.
Shia LaBeouf knocked that kid the hell out.
This kid was like 13 maybe, and Shia LaBeouf's yelling, he can't swim, and they say, what do you care? He's an R. And Shia LaBeouf, without even a second thought, just pops this kid in the face.
It was awesome.
Full blown, and I lost it. I love that.
It was the second of 6 movies I saw this week where a kid just gets sucker punched in the face. So, that was great. And Dakota Johnson's very good in the movie.
And her and Shia LaBeouf have a lot of good chemistry together too.
I thought so. I've seen that criticized about the movie. There's a whole love interest thing kind of going on with the movie. I honestly bought it, and the reason why I did was like, yeah, he's kind of a trashy dude at first in this movie, especially when the two of them first meet each other. But considering what her past is, considering she's a widow, and even a lot of the people that she's around, like this scuzzy boss that she's got over this old age home and things like that, and then sees these two characters who do, through the faults that a lot of characters have, they have heart to him as well, and seeing how he is with this kid and everything, and how protective he is, and how they get along and all that. No, I could see how it would kind of get to that point. Yeah. I really didn't have that criticism about this movie.
Not at all.
There's people in... It's got a hell of a cast. Like, there's people that I didn't even... Of course, I never got a trailer for this movie, but I knew Shia LaBeouf was in it. I knew Dakota Johnson was in it going into the movie. But, like, I love Thomas Hayden Church. Like, even when a movie turns out to be bad, I'm like... Okay, like, I didn't know he was in Hellboy until I saw it, but the second he was in Hellboy, I was like, oh, hell yeah, Thomas Hayden Church!
That was one of the big surprises of that movie.
Yeah.
Which was it was a good surprise because I really like that character.
Yeah, seriously, you should watch Divorce with Thomas Hayden Church. It's one of the best comedies on TV right now. But, so... him popping and giving a lot of stuff to do in the third act of this film. He's very funny, and like it's a sweet film. And I didn't know John Bernthal was in this till he popped up.
He's just in flashbacks.
He has no lines in this movie,
and you see him talk, but there's no audio. Give that man props. Because he'll do little things like that.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
That's why I love him, because
same.
Because if he sees a good script, he'll do it.
I love John Bernthal, and this is he does do things like that, because this isn't the first time.
Like when he showed up in Wind River, it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's in this, and of course he nails the scene, and it's like fantastic.
What I loved about John Bernthal, because John Bernthal plays Shia LaBeouf's brother in this movie, he's just in flashbacks, and you don't actually hear any dialogue that he has. But it's such great casting that it's like, I believe these two are brothers, knowing how John Bernthal is in other movies and and different characters he's played in the past. It's like, I believe this guy's John Bernthal's brother.
And of course, if you want to see those two really well together as well, watch Fury as well, because they're both in that as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
they're both that movie's just fantastic anyway.
They're both damn good in that movie.
But yeah, for me. Like the way Thomas Hayden Church handled being an old pro wrestler.
Yeah.
Loved it. I mean, it was, I wouldn't say it's like similar, but you could just see shades of like the Mickey Rourke character in The Wrestler and him. It's just, it was the has-been kind of wrestler. And then there's a cameo from Mick Foley, who's a pro wrestler, as the referee. And then Jake the Snake doing what Jake the Snake does best. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, here's Jake the Snake, who's friends with Thomas Hayden Church's character. And let's just say he does what Jake the Snake does best. He plays the natural heel. And I loved it. And just seeing him in that, This movie's amazing, and it's gonna be a runner-up for my favorite of this year, or best movie.
It's definitely a contender for my list at the end. I don't know about number one necessarily, but my top 10 list. Yeah, this is so far this year.
I can't see it not making my 5 nominees.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like go see it. Like
if glad you can find it.
I'm glad it came to Springfield. Like I don't know how many theaters this is in. But if it's playing in Springfield, it's probably in a handful.
We had, I think, Savoy got it, and Bloomington got it, and then Springfield. That's it. Decatur didn't get it, and it's unfortunate because people need to see it. Watch the movie.
Yeah. Oh, I highly recommend this. If you just try to find a theater near you to go check this movie out, because I loved the hell out of this flick. Let's pop up and see if we got any more in the super chat. Holly Blue Angel again. What even was this movie? If it's just the same one every single time. Let's see. Eclectic anyway. Brad, I know you like to release snob episodes that are related to new films. There's another Black Christmas remake coming out. Is there really? There's another Black Christmas remake coming out in December. So might there be a snob episode on the original or the remake? Yeah, probably.
I didn't know they were making another one.
Neither did I. Yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and do that. Why not? Sure, especially mainly just to get to the 2006 version. There's Mike Fail again. What's rule number 1? See, at least now I know what quote that's from, having seen the movie. What is rule number 1?
Party.
Furiously masturbate. Holly Blue agitated. Cinema bum movie win. We need his backstory. I should put the cinema bum in a movie. I should have made him one of the clowns in another Cinema Snob movie. TJ O'Donnell. I'll have to bring him back to life, though. I think I killed him in one of the other episodes. I don't think he's been seen since the Legend of Boggy Creek episode. TJ O'Donnell. Hey, Geno, this is for you.
I expect $10 before I leave today. Especially after sitting through 6 movie reviews from you. I'm sitting on a pillow. It ain't helping very much.
Oh no, you're sitting on Laura's pillow.
I'm sure she'll be happy about that.
Also, Brad, any ideas on a Lloyd animated reboot? I would love to do another season of the Lloyd animated series.
Is he being a diva about it?
Yes. I told you can't review the movies unless you go see them, Lloyd. I would love to do another season of that, but it'll all just depend on like timing, because I know like TuneWorks, those guys, they got a bunch of other projects that they work on, their own like projects for themselves, like personal projects for others. So I'd love to do another one. Hopefully, we could find like the right timing to do so. It would be far off in the future that you'd see it, because I wouldn't do like I did the first season, where the episodes were aired whenever they were finished. I would wait for like the 6 episodes to be done, and then air them like every week. I would do it like that, so it would probably be a little while before you end up seeing a second season. I would also like to do like, even if not like a second season, even maybe doing it like as a movie or something like that, and just releasing it as like a 70-minute movie. Because I love that first season. I do. It's one of my favorite things that we've done. So if there's anything of mine where I'd certainly like to see more of and hope that it happens, it's the Lloyd animated series. Okay, let's go ahead and get to our next review, which is for Blinded by the Light. Here's a clip from Blinded by the Light.
What do you want?
A show that plays only Bruce Springsteen.
Huh? Nothing but Springsteen? That's your idea?
Bruce has a lot to say to students in this college. How will they know there's something better out there if they don't hear it?
My job is to play music that the students will connect to. Yeah, that means bros. That means curiosity. And yes, that even means Debbie Gibson.
Okay, so if you saw the trailer for yesterday, and you were like, I'm honestly more of a Springsteen fan, then I have a movie for you. This is from the director of Bend It Like Beckham. It's a movie about a dude who would later go on to be like a writer or a journalist or something like that. And he's a kid in, what's the name of the town that they're living in?
I can't remember.
He's 16 years old. He's living in this real shithole somewhere in Europe. And he and his family, who are Pakistani, it's 1987. There's a lot of things this kid is dealing with, between just being kind of a loner, really, but also with his parents certainly having a set goal for him in school when he leaves school, and really everything in his life, and also the rampant racism going on like in this neighborhood, with all these people wanting these Pakistani people out, to the point to where you have all these skinheads like marching in the street. They're threatening with violence at their home, at the mosques, at restaurants and shit like that. And all this kid really wants to do is write. He wants to make it out of his parents' house. He wants to make it out of this town. He wants to go to college. He wants to be a writer. He writes poems. He's trying to get on as a journalist at the school newspaper. There's a girl who's an activist that he has a thing for, but he does have a best friend who is a British dude who's also in high school, and both of them really have a thing for music. In this particular town, what they're really, really digging on in that moment is a lot of synth pop, the movie opens with the Pet Shop Boys. The kids listening to like Human League and things like that. And then he runs into another dude, a Pakistani dude at his school, who has a Springsteen tape, and he gives him this Springsteen cassette, and all of the boss's music really starts speaking to him. and the lyrics of Dancing in the Dark, Badlands, all this thing, he's really, really relating to it with the situation he's at home, wanting to get out of this town that he's living in, all the things he wants to do with his life. He is getting a lot of motivation and drive through all of this Springsteen music. And it's getting to where, like, he's wearing, like, you know, the denim jacket, the flannel, like, rolling up the sleeves and stuff like that. I'm sitting there watching this movie going, like, this is a little too close to the release of The Fanatic coming out soon. It's going to go into psychological thriller territory, isn't it? Is that what I'm watching? It's like a Bollywood version of The Fanatic where it's 3 hours and the first half is a rom-com. And then it gets really deadly and stalkery. But when I was watching it, I was wondering what Laura would think of it, because she's not really huge into Springsteen, like, at all. I love Bruce Springsteen. I've seen Springsteen in concert 4 times over many years, which is nothing compared to how much the guy in this movie has seen him. At the end, it says he's seen him in concert 150 times. Like, well, I've seen him 4 times. Close. So I was digging the soundtrack to this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the entire soundtrack is fantastic in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even beyond all the Springsteen stuff in it, which is like 90% of the soundtrack. But again, like I said, it plays like the Pet Shop Boys on the soundtrack, which are one of my favorite bands. But I do love me some Springsteen. So watching this, I was thinking, like, it'd be really cool to see this with my dad, because me and my dad have seen Springsteen a couple times. My dad's a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. He would really, really dig the hell out of this. So I need to text him to see if he went to go see this, because he would really, really dig this movie. Hell, one of the trailers in front of the movie was for a Springsteen documentary coming out. I liked what they did with the lyrics too, where the kid is like getting really passionate about this music and really kind of finding his voice, and you see the lyrics on screen done creatively in the background on the wall, maybe over his head, or just certain parts of the lyrics. I liked that about it. The plot is certainly something you'd seen before with this kind of movie, with a very strict family trying to make sure the kid only does this with his life, but he's rebelling against his family. And even the girl who's the love interest in the movie, like, she comes from this really, like, kind of waspy, like, Tory family, and she thinks that she's only dating the Pakistani, or her parents think she's only dating the Pakistani kid just to, like, rebel against them and things like that. Like,
God, that dinner scene.
Yeah, that was funny. He pours some wine, like, Dad, he doesn't drink. Oh, well, I won't tell if you don't.
Yeah, here, try a little bit. We won't tell. It's like, Dad, stop being so racist.
So yeah, I mean, like, I've seen this kind of thing before, certainly, with, like, this kid's parents, and of course by the end, you know, you kind of see where everything's going in the movie, but it is a sweet film. The performances are solid in the movie. Did you like?
I did like it. I thought there was whenever, like, the feel of the movie was, it's like, you know, the one scene they're, you know, running down the street, you know, singing a Bruce Springsteen song, and then all of a sudden something happened at the mosque. You know, it just, like, abrupt. You know, an abrupt stop to the fun happened a few times. That was kind of a weird shift a couple times.
Yeah, there were shifts like that in the movie where, because I had a few issues with it, there were shifts in it, and, like, a couple of times it's almost coming across like a musical.
Yeah.
A couple of times.
As I was saying, they were singing a Springsteen song. They're in the hall.
And dancing.
Yeah, they started a record in the school radio station, locked the doors and ran. But as they're going down different parts of the town, they're still singing with the song. And while that was fine with it, again, it felt like a musical. Then all of a sudden, it's just like something bad's happened, because it's like all of a sudden racism,
right? And like, with the supporting characters, certain characters would be like pretty in the forefront, and then would kind of, like, his like British friend, but then kind of disappear for a while, and then come back, and then it seems like that kid's dad is going to have a huge part in it, but it was really kind of only in the one scene. So there were like little things like that where it would kind of like, it was almost like just people were just switching places on who the main supporting character is. Yeah. I was worried at one point when he gets really, really deep into Springsteen and is talking to all these people about it. There was a point where he's really into Bruce and just really kind of starts throwing shade at other things that aren't Springsteen. Like where like, okay, he's talking to his friend who's really into like new wave and all that, and is saying things like oh, this idiot thinks that synth is going to be the way of the future, or things like that. Like, he'll say that about his friend. And then the stuff at the radio station where, like, the villain at the radio station, and this is the guy who's playing Debbie Gibson, and, like, they break in and, like, scratch his record.
They scratched my Tiffany record!
Yeah, and then the headmistress or whoever it is was like, oh, Tiffany ain't that good anyway. I was sitting there watching stuff like that, just going like, you know, I love Bruce Springsteen. I also love 80s pop. So I was kind of going like, movie, can you not be a smug douchebag about this? But
at least they kind of call him on it.
That's exactly it. Like, I was worried about that at first, where I was going to be like, is this going to be like a music snobbery movie where it's like, that's just it, he loves like this thing and is just really kind of shitting on everything else? Because he does do that in the movie, and a couple other characters do too. But the movie does actually make that an arc between him and his friend, who is into things like, you know, the Pet Shop Boys, stuff like that. And he's like, if this music really, really speaks to you, and this music really, really speaks to me, I like that. That was actually like this hurdle that he kind of had to get over after finding this new thing that he loves and wants to tell all those people about. So, like, that was one thing where I was like, I was concerned it was going to go one way, and really didn't. It actually really did kind of address that.
I'm wondering about the girlfriend. Yeah. Since I literally just watched this before we came here.
Yeah.
I haven't got to look at like History vs. Hollywood or anything.
Oh, if she existed.
If she really existed. Cause,
I was wondering that too.
Because I'm willing to bet the answer is no, or she's just an amalgamation of maybe multiple girlfriends or something. Because when they were showing the pictures at the end of the real people, she wasn't there. Yeah. And so
his real wife would be like, who is she?
Yeah. Who's that hussy? But so there's things like that. Sometimes I know it's inspired by a true story and not based on, you know. Yeah. And they're gonna play with the facts. I get it if they needed to like condense characters or something, but it bothers me a little bit whenever if there wasn't that story there and they added it in. But I mean I was fine with it. I was okay with it in the movie.
If it wasn't something that happened, I can see for just a movie narrative making that the case. It gives something else for the movie, as well as with her parents, even addressing kind of a lot of the racism that's going on around there. So I didn't so much have a problem with that necessarily, but I did wonder if that person did exist in real life. I don't know. I don't know if she did or not. But like I said, I really want this to be a double feature with The Fanatic, the new John Travolta movie. I'm not used to like there being single white female in an upbeat comedy.
Yeah. But yeah, the movie, I liked the movie.
I liked it.
I don't know if it's one I would watch again. Yeah. Maybe I would. I mean, but I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd say rush the theater to see it. Mm-hmm. But I would recommend it. I liked it enough to recommend. The problems I had with it weren't major.
They weren't major for me either. I don't... if you're a huge Springsteen fan, yeah, you'll be into this. Like, my dad certainly will be, and I really dig the hell out of Springsteen, too, so I was liking that about the film as well. It was nice seeing a lot of Springsteen love in a movie. I mean, the movie itself, it's an uplifting film. It's got a lot of heart to it. It's a sweet movie, like, his relationship with his parents and the resolution there. Like, there's some really good dramatic moments between him and his dad as well, and the two kind of calling out each other in the situation, and the kid even... The dad realizing a lot of his faults in a lot of this, and even the kid realizing his too. He's got a monologue towards the end where he's even addressing a lot of his own mistakes that he's made along the way, and again, how that pertains to the song "Blinded by the Light." So yeah, I don't think it's someone you need to rush out to go see necessarily, especially because I don't think it'll be on very much longer. Yeah. But like I paid literally $1 for this with the Fandango rewards I had. It was definitely worth $1 going to see in the theater. Did you catch this on a matinee? It's a really, really likable movie. Compared to yesterday, it's probably better.
Yesterday felt a little incomplete to me, like it was missing something. They had a neat idea that they didn't really explore good enough. This one I got what they were trying to, the story they were trying to tell worked. So
yeah, totally. Let's see, is there any more super chat questions in there?
Nope.
Let's do it. Still just saying, hey Geno, this is for you. Alright, so it doesn't look like we got any more super chats, but again, we answer the super chats and read the super chat comments in between the reviews, so we still do have a couple of movies left. So let's go ahead and get to Angel Is Fallen, and here's a clip from that one.
Really? You're welcome.
I decided to use the clip with explosions. This is the third part in the Has Fallen trilogy, which was Olympus Has Fallen. Very entertaining movie, almost kind of like the spiritual Under Siege 3.
Yeah. I always call it the cousin of Die Hard.
Yeah, like more like, with like which that's pretty much what Under Siege is, and Olympus Has Fallen is more kind of in that vein a little bit, because I freaking love Under Siege, and I dug the hell out of I dug the hell out of Olympus Has Fallen. I even thought London Has Fallen was entertaining.
Yeah, I was disappointed in that movie.
Brian and I went to go see it, and we're like, this is Gerard Butler just in London, like, sadistically shooting and stabbing people in the head. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth here. Like, we had a pretty good time at that movie. Just as pure B, like, action trash, we had a good time at it. So, now here's Angel Has Fallen, and in which they decide to, with the story of Mike Banning, who is the Secret Service man that Gerard Butler plays, they decide to Taken 3 him in this one, like in Taken 3 with Liam Neeson, where now it's Gerard Butler who is a fugitive, who is being blamed for this assassination attempt on President Morgan Freeman. Again, like I said, as presidential as Morgan Freeman is, not the best idea that he's the president in the movie. Something terrible will happen, whether it's this assassination via drone strike, like in this movie, or the end of the world in Deep Impact. Something terrible is going to happen. I'm surprised he wasn't the president in Geostorm. But, so yeah, Morgan Freeman is then in a coma, so he's not able to come out and say what actually happened, so they think Mike Banning is the one who was behind all this because of planted evidence, and now he's on the run. Now think less The Fugitive, even think less U.S. Marshals. This is more Most Wanted territory with Keenan Ivory Wayans. Did it feel to you like the other movies don't exist in this movie's universe?
For many reasons. First, tonally, where the first movie's pretty funny. Lots of one-liners, things like that. Second movie just, balls of the wall, ridiculous action. This one just felt really serious.
This movie's taking it super serious. Too serious.
Except for the mid-credit scene.
Oh, we'll get to that.
We will get to that.
Trust me, we'll get to
we have
whatever
to
the hell that was.
But yeah, so tonally it felt different. One of the biggest things for me was, and we talked about this before, where I feel like the end of London Has Fallen was changed. I've never been able to confirm it, but the ending they tacked on with Morgan Freeman with a different beard than he had in the movie, saying the president, Aaron Eckhart, is okay. Right? I have a feeling they killed off the president, maybe saving Banning's life, because he has a family and Aaron Eckhart had lost his in the first movie. That way he can be with his family. Aaron Eckhart's not even mentioned in this movie. And the whole point of the first two movies was those two guys' friendship.
Yeah.
It was Aaron Eckhart and Mike Banning's friendship.
Yeah.
Was the whole thing. And when Morgan Freeman in this movie dropped the line, well, everything we've been through together, it's like, what have you been through together? So yeah, there was lots about this movie that made me think that, that made me think the other movies weren't there.
I could wrap my head around, even though it's funny they never mentioned President Aaron Eckhart, but I could at least wrap my head around it, because I was like, well, all right, in season 5 or 6 or way later seasons of 24, maybe didn't mention every president that was on there. So I was like, okay, maybe I can try to have that make sense in my head. But the one thing was that Banning is being set up for this murder against the president. When this is the guy who saved the White House and the world in the first movie, and then again in the second movie, the president and all these attacks, whether it was potential nuclear attacks and everything, so much stuff he's done. There is not, I realize that we live in a very kind of presumed guilty society, but there is not a person alive who would believe that this guy did all of this. There is no one who would think that this evidence wasn't planted, that they wouldn't be giving this guy the benefit of the doubt. There's no one would throw this guy into the bus like this.
They may suspect him, but they'd be like, when he says, look, I saved his life, it's at least look at it. There would be someone that would at least be like, well, there might be another thing going on here, not just, oh no, we know it's you. It's you. You're done.
And why even if you need to frame somebody for this, pick some no-name employee who is working in Secret Service or something like that. Make a scapegoat out of somebody who's not Captain America in this film.
And the fact that
or just kill him.
It's supposedly this best friend of his that we're all of a sudden just finding out about now.
Oh, okay. So that's one hilarious thing about this movie. So again, this movie is taking things super serious through a lot of it. And at the beginning of it, I was kind of with that a little bit. When he's dealing with concussions and headaches and migraines and all of this, and because of events presumably because of the other movies. I was actually enjoying the movie, taking time out for that.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, it didn't. It just wasn't as entertaining when it got to a lot of the action in this and him being on the run. There's so many fun parts in Olympus Has Fallen, even in London Has Fallen, where there was those moments where he stabs that guy like 20 times, and Aaron Eckhart's like, did you really have to do it like that? And Gerard Butler's like, no. Like, there was none of that in this movie, and I missed that. Like, I missed, like, that kind of thing throughout this movie, where this movie just felt kind of less over the top and more just kind of paint by numbers. But where was I? What was it you said? Where was I going with that? I went on a whole like.
We've talked about how many movies now.
Yeah. There's a train like derailment in my head, like maybe from talking about The Fugitive a lot.
Well, it was about the best friend being
okay.
Probably.
So I've seen the okay. So you know right away who the villains are going to be in this movie when best friend
and mystery villain.
Yeah, dude. Okay.
Gee, I wonder who it could be.
Oh well, okay. Like, so first of all, like his friend shows up, who's Danny Houston. Oh man, who's gonna be the guy who is it going to be the guy who's the villain in everything? And then another guy who's the mystery villain. It's telegraphed again because it's like, yeah, I could see this actor playing this part in this movie who's going to do this particular thing. But what was great about this, and what's so funny, is I'm not the first person to say this about the movie. The audience I saw it with was shocked by these revelations. Well, maybe a little scattered throughout, but I was next to this elderly couple in the theater. It showed the latest trailer for Rambo: Last Blood in front of this, which is kind of a graphic trailer. And then afterwards, I could just hear the lady next to me just, oh, goodness. I'm like, oh, well, they're in for a treat with Angel Has Fallen. So there were people in the audience that were getting shocked by every twist. And I'm not even the only one who said that. Like, Corey said something like that about his audience on Double Toasted. Scott Foy said it over on Twitter. And I'm like, I guess this is like a lot of people who maybe don't go out to movies much are going to go see this movie and getting shocked by like the most telegraphed villains that I've seen in recent memory. So when his friend, it's like, oh, it's his friend. The people next to me are like, oh, like, isn't that his friend? And mystery villain, when it's revealed that he's the one behind all this, again, it was like, oh no, I did not see that. Like, really? Wow. Okay, well, I'm glad the Angel Has Fallen is the crying game of twists for this, for the people in this audience. Was it like that when you went to go see it?
There wasn't many people in my theater.
There was when I saw it.
And how you could be, I mean, the whole movie feels like an episode of 24, like a season of 24, you know, with where you know the twists and stuff are going.
That's absolutely what it was.
There was only one person I thought was going to turn bad and didn't. And that was the other FBI agent that wasn't what's her name?
Wasn't Jada Pinkett?
Yeah. I thought maybe he would have turned on her, but he was just kind of a nothing character instead.
They were already the world's dumbest FBI agents. You know, you probably shouldn't be going there by yourself, but okay, got to make this twist happen.
Yeah.
There were things about it that were pretty entertaining. This movie blows up people good.
Okay, when you were talking about the fun factor, you're getting to the fun factor of the
movie. Like, I like Gerard Butler in about any action movie. So, I mean, he can carry a movie like this in his sleep, and he kind of does in this film. But, like, but he's still entertaining. This movie blows up, like, hundreds of people. Just burnt bodies flying through the sky and flying all over the place, just engulfed in flames and, like, just stacked on top of each other. Like, the movie knows how to do bodies and explosions. And we also, it was the clip I showed at the beginning of the show. There's one thing about this, they really worked really well, and that's Nick Nolte. Yeah, Nick Nolte steals. He's fantastic. He
has the best scene of the movie
He does, and he's in it quite a bit. Like, it isn't really just a cameo. He shows up as Banning's dad, who's just like this, you know, Unabomber without the mailing explosion.
I think they made a Unabomber joke.
Yeah. So he's living off in the woods by himself because he thinks Big Brother's after him, and he's writing his memoirs. Like, he's like a better written and well-acted version of a character you'd see in Amerigeddon. But it's like Nick Nolte in this movie being... I think that, like, that was just Nick Nolte living in a shack in the woods, and they didn't tell him they were
Let's film him and see what happens.
Yeah, they bowfingered his ass. Like, so crazy Nick Nolte and Gerard Butler are playing off each other in the movie, and they do it well. And Nick Nolte has some really well done emotional arcs and moments in the movie where he's like crying at several points in it because of how much he screwed up as a dad and how he abandoned them and things like that. Nolte is performing it like he's going for another Oscar nomination. Like, he really nails it in this film.
Well, with the fun factor in Nick Nolte, whenever that scene you showed, I love that Gerard Butler his character kind of runs out like he's going to be the one wasting all the bad guys, and Nick Nolte's just like, boom.
Yeah.
And he's like, what was that, Dad? And he's like, thanks would be nice.
Yeah, he's like, really? Yeah, like Gerard Butler could throw a line like that, like, and do it well. And I like that. I think Banning's catchphrase is just fuck. Like, because he does that a lot in the movie where he just sees people explode and just it says that.
But yeah, with the best scene, I'll just say this. The best scene of the movie was with Nick Nolte when he meets the family for the first time. That is my favorite scene of that entire movie. Just with what happens in it.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's just really good.
He is. And when he brought a lot of emotion and humor to the movie, it worked. It even worked in tone with the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It didn't take me out of it at all. It was like certainly a breath of fresh air in the film. And
when he was in it, it felt like the first two movies.
It did. It had
because you had that interaction between the two of them.
Yeah.
Kind of like you had with Aaron Eckhart and Gerard Butler.
Definitely. And that you're right. That is what made it. That gave it like that kind of like 80s action movie sense of humor. Now where the humor didn't work was for no reason whatsoever. There's a mid-credit sequence in this movie. Like, not every movie needs to do this. I realize it's the thing with certain movies. Not every movie needs to do something like this, especially this one, and especially with what they did. Now, it's true that in the rest of it, Nick Nolte certainly did bring a level of humor to it, and also emotion, and some weight to it. But it worked. It worked in context to everything else. It worked tonally with everything else that you had seen beforehand. What it does in the mid-credits of this, it doesn't even feel like the same universe.
I'm glad I told you it was there, because I don't know if you would have saw it.
No, I would have, because it only came up after a few credits.
Did it? I can't remember.
So I wouldn't have been all the way out of the theater, I don't think. I would have turned around and not believed what the hell I just saw, which is Gerard Butler. I'll just tell you what it is. It's Gerard Butler and Nick Nolte in like a day spa in a sensory deprivation pool in which they're like, I don't know if we should do this, son. Like, I'm watching, like, a episode of According to Jim out of nowhere. Yeah. Like, oh, come on, Dad. They say this will really help our bones or something. All right, let's lay down in this pool of water. Come on, convict. And, like, they're laying in the lights go out. He's like, oh, the lights are out. I'm scared. I think I just peed in this pool. What was that?
Yeah,
I can't even call that a deleted scene that they stuck at the end, because where in the hell would that have fit in anywhere else in the movie? Whose idea was this? Like, it wasn't even a it was like they filmed their own stupid DVD Easter egg and put it in the middle of the credits.
Yeah, it was weird. It's just a weird scene. Because it's straight up comedy. It's
not even the same kind of comedy as everything else.
Just straight up try to make you laugh out loud comedy.
That was
and it fits nothing.
Yeah, that was like they mixed up credit stingers and took one from Daddy's Home 2, as if that was supposed to be Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson in this scene. Yeah, man. I don't like. I didn't think this movie was worth a theatrical experience. Really, like it's a solid rental, especially if you've watched the other two movies. Then totally, or if you like some Gerard Butler action movies, which I do. But I thought Den of Thieves was way better than this. This was just kind of. There were things about it I appreciated they were doing with his character. To me, it just wasn't as fun as the other movies.
No, definitely not.
But again, like it's serviceable enough as a rental. I thought. I like that it made 20-some million over the weekend.
Yeah, it won the weekend. I think.
Yeah, it won the weekend last weekend. I mean, I'm glad for that because I like when Gerard Butler movies do well. Like. Regardless of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But again, I wanted it to be a bit more fun than what it was. It was just kind of standard action movie, really. Yeah. Nothing more, nothing less. Didn't insult me at all, except for, well, okay. I mean, like the telegraphing was pretty insulting in a lot of it, but I wasn't sitting there mad through any of the movie. It's again, if you want to rent it, I mean, go for it. Where would you rank this among the others?
Being that I didn't like the second one as much, I thought the second one was too big.
Yeah.
Especially since the first one was kind of claustrophobic and it stayed near the White House and all that.
Yeah.
I would flip-flop it back and forth with the second one. I mean, the first one's still the best one.
First one is still the best, yeah.
But then again, the third one had problems that it's like you disconnected from the universe. So
fallen universe.
I would flip flop.
Yeah.
But the first one's always going to be the best. Period.
Yeah. I if you ask me which, I just thought the second one was more entertaining than this one. Like you could probably poke holes more in the second movie. I just had a better time at that one. Yeah, this one would be my least favorite of the three. But again, I didn't hate it. I would still say it's worth a rental.
Yeah, it's definitely a rental at best.
All right, let's go ahead and answer some more super chats before we get to. Oh, we actually made it to the last one. We got the last one coming up after this. So we got a few super chats in here. Let me get to these. Thank you, TJ O'Donnell. Hey, Brad, is Laura the site's official Gerard Butler expert? Well, Laura.
Well, Brad. Honey. I don't know. I think you're the expert, honey.
One of my favorite reviews that we have done recently was when Laura reviewed A Hunter Killer with me because she was having none of that movie. It was pissing her off hard during that film. I love taking her to that. But I probably would have taken her to this too if I was in town, but I was in Chicago and she's visiting family in Virginia. But maybe when she comes back, that ain't gonna happen. I was gonna be like, maybe when she comes back, I could be like, hey, honey, you want to go see Angel Has Fallen? That ain't gonna happen. She wouldn't like this. The others, maybe, but she wouldn't. I'll say that she would like this better than Hunter Killer. I'll give it that. TJ O'Donnell, did I? Oh, okay, there we go. Cinehani's Productions. I'm sure Angel Has Fallen is a prequel. I don't think so. They don't mention him being Morgan Freeman being an ex-president.
Well, I just said Morgan Freeman was Speaker of the House.
Yeah, he was like Secretary of State
or something like that, and then he was the Vice President in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can go backwards if you're president. I don't believe lawfully. I don't feel once you're president, you can't go backwards. You're officially done in government, and they support you forever. You know?
Yeah, but I don't know. Didn't you ever see Welcome to Mooseport?
Long time ago.
I want to say that they Ford considered running as vice president, or he was on the short list for Reagan's VP or something like that. I think you can't run for president again, but I think you can Or maybe that's just Mooseport law.
That wacky town of Mooseport.
TJ O'Donnell, hey Brad, are you gonna make Dave watch Unplanned? Dave ain't watching that. Between the there won't be any more Unplanned reviews. One, I don't think I could talk him into it anyway, and plus he's still got to catch up on God's Not Dead 3. No, he there's already a Snob episode and a midnight screenings of it, so probably no more Unplanned material. Lizzie Luna, did you finally buy a new t-shirt? I have plenty of new t-shirts. You usually just catch me in one of my pajama shirts. But yes, I did buy this the other day. I prefer wearing long sleeve t-shirts like this, but a lot of those I have to order. It's not like a lot that I see them in stores. Right. But I did find this the other day, and it made me laugh. So I like it. It's cute. I came really close to buying a Friday the 13th long sleeve that I saw, but it was like Jacket Jason on there with like some like one of the older logos. I'm like, I don't care much for Jacket Jason anyway because it reminds me too much of the remake and Freddy vs. Jason. Plus, Jason didn't dress like that in Jason Lives. Get it right. Stephen Otten, would you consider reviewing the Poughkeepsie tapes? Oh, I have heard of that. Hey, submitted in for a Patreon request. Have you seen this?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you for message redacted. Someone sent in a message and redacted it, but thank you for the $3 donation. All right, we got one more movie to get to. How long have we been going? Hour 45. Let's see if we can talk about this for an hour and 15 minutes. We'll make it to that. So how you feeling? You holding up all right?
I'm all right.
Let's go ahead and... I knew we shouldn't have talked for 90 minutes on Angel Is Fallen. Okay, let's go for Ready or Not, and then we'll be out of here. So here's a clip right now from Ready or Not.
Sorry we cut it so close. We couldn't get a regular charter out of De Gaulle this morning. And I cannot fly commercial anymore, right? It's the worst.
Grace! Hi! Hi! I'm Emily. Oh, and your dress is amazing. I've been totally stalking you on Instagram. Oh, really? That's... We're gonna be best friends.
Okay. Here's what I love about that clip that I pulled. Hang on just a sec. Let me pull it up again. Since I always edit it to make it look like it's like the movie, the clip is showing in the theater that we're watching it at.
Sorry we cut it so close.
Mute that, okay. I like the fact that apparently this screening of Ready or Not just has watermarked Ready or Not coming August 21st on the upper right-hand corner of it. Like,
for your consideration.
Yeah, maybe I should tell someone in concessions about that, or someone working the box office. I don't know, there's some weird, like, date on the screen. There's only one person in that theater, though, as you can see. It's Laura sitting up there. It's the same picture I use for all of them, and the person in the very front's Laura. That was a clip that I pulled earlier this afternoon. This was the 6th of the 6 movies I had to go see. I wanted it to be one of the first ones that I went to go see, but like the way the timing worked out, I'm like, oh, I guess this will be the last one. So when I pulled the clip this afternoon, I hadn't seen the movie yet, and I'm watching through that clip again. I love this family, man. I love this crazy ass waspy, like, most dangerous game family through this film. I love that while Warner Brothers are a bunch of pussies who pulled The Hunt, Fox Searchlight, I think, released this one. They're like, okay, yeah, screw you. Here's Ready or Not. Go see it if you want to.
When they pulled The Hunt, that was my first thought is, aren't we getting Ready or Not?
Yeah, yeah. Like, screw that, man. But I was sold on the trailers of this movie. The trailers were funny. The trailers were bloody. I like the plot. I like the music choices in the trailer. I like the actors they got for it. This is the movie about this woman marrying into this wealthy family that has a tradition they do whenever one of them does get married, which is that they play a game.
Yeah, they're like a gaming company.
Yeah,
like a board game
that's
company.
how they're rich. That's how they've amassed all of this wealth, because of this board game company that they've had for generations. And not every... You have to pick this card that imprints the game that you're going to play on it, but it's not always what it turns into in this movie. In fact, what it turns into this movie is a rare case, it seems. Yeah. Sometimes they'll pull a card and they just play chess, or they'll play Old Maid or something like that. But when it gets the deadly hide-and-seek card...
Yeah, I think it only happened one other time.
Yeah, they said it happened one other time 30 years ago or something like that, and that's when the families have to basically hunt this person throughout this giant mansion with all these antique weapons and lead them to this human sacrifice that has to occur before the sun comes up. And it's told that somehow there will be deaths in the family if this particular human sacrifice.
Well, I understand they all die.
Yeah, yeah.
If she doesn't die, they all die.
But they don't know if that's they don't know if that's a superstition, or the older generations think it's real, but the younger ones debate each other, is this real? Is this actually going to happen? Is this something our parents just made up or something? So they are hunting, I forget the actress's name. She looks a lot like Margot Robbie. But they're hunting her throughout this house, and her husband, who's been estranged from the family for a while, is kind of trying to help her at first. Yeah.
And they want him back in the fold.
Yeah, which is why they're glad that she is actually there. But in fact, they start kind of warming up to her a little bit before this deadly game has to happen. But it is a very bloody movie. The movie doesn't hold back on the language. It doesn't hold back on the gore, and it opens with our main characters lighting up a cigarette. I'm like, cool. Piss off, people who released The Hunt or pulled it. But it has a wicked sense of humor about itself. I love that in that clip with that cokehead ass daughter going in there, fucking hyper as shit, just stuffing cocaine up her nose, not knowing how to use this gun. They keep accidentally killing the help throughout the film.
Well, yeah, the same girl kills two of the three maids.
That shit keeps happening in the movie. The one poor bastard is given this old crossbow to use and doesn't know how to use it and has to look up videos on YouTube on how to work this crossbow. There's a lot of really bloody physical gags in the movie. And I enjoyed how you didn't quite know who to trust with certain characters in the movie, whether it's her husband, who seems to want to get her out of this and is fighting against the other family members about this sacrifice that has to take place. But you also have Samara Weaving. That's who the actress is. Oh, yeah. Okay, from 3 Billboards.
Yep.
You have Adam Brody. I liked seeing him pop up in this movie. He's really good in this, where all this crazy family shit has gotten to him to the point to where he's just an alcoholic and still doesn't quite know if this is real or not. You get the sense that this is a guy who's certainly amoral and has some shit he's done in the past, but isn't a total sociopath. You don't know where he's going to kind of end up throughout this, because he's still hunting her, but is sort of giving her a chance in some areas. And it's a solid 90 minutes, man. It's actually a pretty fun way to end this 6 movies that I went to go see, because it was fun. It was real. It was funny. It was suspenseful. It kept the pace going.
Yeah.
It has a really likable and quotable and memorable supporting cast. They do little things with all these other eccentric family members, and his grandma with the resting psycho grandma bitch face.
She reminded me of what's her name, Roz from Monsters Inc.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's who she reminded me of. Just the way she, her hair. And the way she was just the stare.
Yeah.
But man, this movie, I saw the trailer and I had hopes for it.
I did too.
And man, did this movie deliver.
Yeah.
And then some.
Uh-huh.
While I would have had a hard time believing that this one person could have survived just on their own.
Uh-huh.
Say the family had been skilled. This family is stupid.
Because, like, yeah, they haven't done this in 30 years. Yeah.
Because, again, there's only, like, maybe 2 of them that might have taken part. 2 or 3 of them might have taken part in the last time this had happened. The rest of them come and they're just like, we don't know what we're doing. And just the dumb decisions they make, the stupid stuff they do, the questions they ask. Everything about it makes me believe this girl could survive.
Yeah, and she like gets messed up through this movie. Like she takes some painful ass hits in this film.
Oh yeah.
Like, and you're rooting for this girl, man. There's one part where she's in a car almost about to get away, and then this cluster of a thing happens. Like this.
It's so funny though.
It's so funny, but it's like, oh man, that sucks. That sucks hard. That sucks so hard that happened to you. It made me. I really dug the hell out of this movie. I thought it was intense, funny. It's got a good climax.
I cheered.
I did too. I wish it sucks so bad that, like, of the 6 movies I went to go see, there was the least amount of people here.
Yeah.
It was me and 2 other people. More people need to be going to go see this movie. Like, if this was a packed house, there would be so much cheering throughout this film. I certainly see this movie. I think it's already made its money back because I think it only cost.
Sure.
I think it already only cost like $5 million or something. But I definitely see this at least picking up an audience, like on video or Netflix. Have it going to like a midnight release of this with like a packed audience would be a blast. Because they would be like cheering in the right moment, laughing in the right moments. It would be a lot of fun. I am gonna have to have like a script meeting with Ryan at some point in the future. I don't even know when we're doing this movie, but at some point it is like the next big movie we're doing. There's things that happen in this movie that are a lot like that Christmas movie that I wrote. That's the Hallmark Christmas movie that turns into this like human sacrifice thing. I'm like, I'm like, hey Ryan, why don't you, when you make your pass, because I've written my draft of the script. So yeah, if we made that draft of the script, I could at least be like, look, here's the date I wrote it. I swear it was written like 2 years before this.
First Kevin Sorbo steals from you, now this.
But like, at least with that, I had my movie was released first.
Yeah.
Like, but so I'm gonna. Hey Ryan, you need to watch this movie before you make your pass on the script, and maybe like tinker a couple of things a little bit. It's not like heavy rewrites necessarily, but a few things, kinda. Oops, I wasn't mad. I was like. No, I wasn't mad at all because I was like, "This movie's fun."
Yeah,
this movie's really.
This movie, it's probably one of the most fun movies this year.
Of this summer, totally.
From the violence, the humor, the climax at the end, the final shot was a funny line.
Yeah,
and I was just, it's like perfect. It's a perfect bookend to this movie. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. This movie did the balance of gore, horror, comedy well. Nothing was really tonally throwing it off because it already kind of puts you in this universe where this is making sense. Yeah. Where like these characters being this stupid is making sense. There's context to it. Even some of the lines that they're throwing out, the funny lines work because they feel like something that in this movie this character would say. It doesn't do the thing, and all the actors are good too. The main girl is great. Adam Brody is. Andy McDowell. They're a lot of fun in their roles. I've seen like movies like this before, where they would kind of try adding the joke that like also the acting is bad. This movie doesn't do that. The acting is solid in this film. That was like a problem I had with You're Next, where the performances were really kind of taking me out of it a bit. I bet if I saw that movie again, I
enjoyed that movie.
I probably wouldn't hate it as much the second time as I saw it the first time, but to compare this to that one, the performances are way more genuine in this film. That one was like kind of all right. Like it had this dialogue and acting that seemed like it was trying to be bad and has taken me out of it a bit, whereas that wasn't the case with this.
I understand the comparisons between that movie and this one.
Yeah, they're both horror comedies.
And then the whole, also the fighting back kind of thing plays into that too, I think, is why a lot of people are comparing that. But this one, I think, is way better. I mean, I liked them both, but this one, like, it's gonna be one of the best times you have in a theater this year.
I've liked that dude's other movies he did after Your Next. I loved The Guest.
Yeah, The Guest is fantastic.
I was one of the few that liked Blair Witch.
The newer one?
Yeah,
I like that one too.
I really enjoyed it. But no, this was honestly, it was one of the funner times that I had this summer. And it's not, I don't think it's a colossal hit right now, but it should be.
Yeah, definitely.
Go out and see it. Give a movie like this your support. I mean, it's cool. This and the Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yeah.
This and the Peanut Butter Falcon, totally. Like, go out and support those. It's cool that this movie seems to have already made its budget, but still, I wish it would make a lot more. It deserves to do better than Overcomer. Overcomer beat this movie at the box office.
Jeez. My God.
Well, maybe that's partly my fault. I did take about 3 people to go see Overcomer. All right, let's go ahead and get to the super chat again real quick, and then we'll head on out of here. Which is good. I'm running out of halls, and I'm running out of water. Okay, look what we got here. From Holly Blue Agitated. Sleep well, Geno.
I will. Hopefully I'll not in the car on the way back to Decatur.
Depending on the context of that, or the tone that she's saying right there, that could be genuine her being nice, or she might have poisoned you.
We'll find out.
You built up the immunity with the fair food.
Yeah, if the lobster mac and cheese couldn't break me.
See? Exactly. 90s nostalgia nerd. I just saw this afternoon. I had an absolute blast. Highly recommended. Yeah, I'm seeing, like, a lot of people really... There's a lot of people who saw this movie before I did, because I was out of town last weekend. But over on Twitter, I was seeing, like, a few people really rave about this film.
Yeah.
A couple people who I was like, well, that's saying something, because you usually hate everything.
I haven't gone to, like, Rotten Tomatoes or anything about this one, but... Yeah, everything I've seen, I have not seen one person say, I did not have a good time with this.
It's just a blast. It's just a really entertaining blast of a movie.
Enjoy the insanity.
Yeah. So, okay, to wrap things up here, thanks a bunch for doing this, by the way. I'm just impressed that we've actually found the time to see all 6 of them. I didn't know if I was going to be able to pull that off to see all 6 of these movies the last couple of days. It helps when I got a snob episode done in advance. Okay. First things first, definitely, in case you missed the big announcement that we had earlier, another Cinema Snob movie is part of the Troma family now, so... This is so cool. I will talk about this. I will keep talking about this. If you go to watch.troma.com, it's the Troma streaming service, and another Cinema Snob movie is now part of the Troma streaming service. You can see the classic Troma movies. There's documentaries on there. There's original Troma series, plus our movie as well. So go check that out. That's watch.troma.com. And where can we find you at?
You can find me at The Real Geno on YouTube, Twitter, all that. Real Geno, REELGENO.
And I have no idea if we'll actually be reviewing anything over this weekend. There's that movie...
I've got an idea for you, but we'll talk about it after we get off this.
Yeah, totally. Like, because that one that's coming out that looks like Frequency... That's not even listed as coming here in Springfield.
Savoy. That is the only theater near us that I've seen that is going to have that one. Savoy.
Maybe if I'm not doing anything over the weekend. Or maybe I'll just put up like a repeat. Maybe I'll put up like an old DVD-R hell or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, like, you mentioned that to me after... maybe you can give me a good idea.
It might be a good one. It'd definitely be an entertaining one, I think.
Finally do a pilot for Will It Fit? I can't put that on YouTube. That's for the other channel.
Remind me not to answer the phone.
That's Sweeps Week episode. That was the charity episode. Okay, you can find us over at youtube.com/Stoned Gremlin Productions. Also, follow us on Twitter at The Cinema Snob. Follow us on Instagram at The Cinema Snob. We're also at facebook.com/The Cinema Snob. And if you subscribe to us, go ahead and click that little bell on there too, because then you'll get all of the notifications and everything for when we go live and when new videos go up. And we'll see you soon. Thanks a bunch.